Countdown to 9.
We've altered the deal. Pray we don't alter it any further. It's the Countdown to 9 podcast, everybody, as we work our way chronologically through the Star Wars universe, properly preparing you for your episode 9, which is coming up. And now we have landed on, if you took a poll, I think most people's favorite movie in the franchise would land on the one that we are talking about today. Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, yeah,
The
baby.
Empire
Come
Strikes
on
Back.
now. Come on.
That's right.
Dun, dun, dun. Everybody. Dun, 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 dun.
It was a sing-along.
Dun, dun.
Sing your will. Paul Preston here from the Movie Guys with my good friend and co-host Sean Blodgett of the formidable and potent Creative Motion Entertainment.
That's right, man. Thank you so much for that wonderful intro. You're always so great at that.
The source every episode. A movie this good, we have a full table to discuss it, our biggest round table yet.
I know. I'm so excited.
I need to configure this whole mic stand just so I can talk as well.
It is slightly. It's like it's on
for
the
sale.
side. I don't know. If it's I don't know what's going
It's
on
for
over
sale
there.
on the
so
sand
much
crawler
happening.
after
It's
the
crazy.
So let's bring up our guest. First up, a good friend of the Movie Guys who has appeared on the old movie showcast that we used to do at themovieguys.net and host of the podcast Hollywood Close-Up with Natalie Lipka. It's Wayne Frazier.
Woohoo!
Hollywood Close-Up ran about as many shows as the showcast, right? Like 200?
Over 200, yeah.
Over 200.
Yeah.
Cool. So if you, they're still out there. That's a great thing about a podcast.
Yeah.
If you don't know Hollywood Close-Up, but you're an actor and you want to be inspired, they've interviewed actors and people in the acting biz and told their own stories. NatalieandWayne.com.
Yeah,
There
thank
you
you.
go.
Appreciate
Right.
that. Yeah.
And if you're
And
Jenna Fisher like I am, go and look that one up.
Quick plug.
Yes.
2020.
The Return?
2020.
Oh, they took some time off because Natalie had a kid.
Ah.
She did.
And
Little-
I wasn't sure what
odd-
2020 was. I remember 2020 video off of Laurel Canyon Boulevard. I'm like, oh my God, they're coming back. I'm
that's
so
something else.
excited because the mom and pop shops were the best.
Yeah, Natalie had a little baby August.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
It's a little over 1 now. And
Aw.
so took a little time off. And I'm just saying. It's
Well, that's great.
I'll say it's 2020.
No,
Well,
I'm
that's
happy to
awesome.
hear
That's
that.
exciting.
And an
Congratulations.
actor as well, and he's done voices on video games and stuff, so it's
Yeah.
good to have Wayne here. And also joining us is an actor and stuntman Sean and I have known for some time, working together at Universal Studios
right.
Hollywood. It's Rusty Locke.
Yeah, I am Rusty Locke.
I did jazz hands, by the way. I don't know.
Hey,
it doesn't
I
work
love
on
it. I'm
on
honored.
podcasts if you're listening.
What are you
but
doing now up at Universal? My favorite thing I remember was Van Helsing.
Van Helsing, yes.
Better than the movie. Watching
Yeah,
you
when
walk
he
around
did
and
Van
do stuff.
Helsing, it was one of those things you're like, that's actually him. I think that's actually him.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Doc Brown.
Oh, that's right.
course.
Displaced from his ride, but still making appearances.
It's still there if you're thinking fourth dimensionally. That's just something,
That's
you
the
know.
best response you
that's
could
just-
have, I
yeah.
think. And of
Okay, all right. Since we set it up, all right, just give us a little Doc Brown.
Next Saturday night, we're sending you back to the future.
They just did the big Back to the Future Fest, didn't they? Down
That's
on the,
right.
down on the lower lot. Mm-hmm. I want to go to that every year, and I never make it. And they have the big Enchantment Under the Sea dance at the church.
Yep,
right. Where they
that's
show
right,
it.
in Hollywood.
Do you ever go to that?
I do. I have.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. This past week, it was down at Puente Hills Mall, was Twin Pines Mall, back in
Right.
the movie. And absolutely, there's all kinds of events and everything, checking out where it was filmed 34 years ago.
I went to one of those little mini celebration at the Burger King in Burbank, where the opening shot where Marty comes out of his house,
Off
which
of
is not
Victory,
there,
yeah.
and hits the back of that truck in the Burger King parking lot, takes a skateboard down the street.
Yeah.
They had a DJ, and I can't remember what the thing was. It was just for like a one-time, maybe it was just the release date of the original movie or something.
Yep.
But and Rusty appeared in a 2004 short fan film, Star Wars Contract of Evil, which we'll talk about.
That's right.
It won Best Makeup at the Star Wars Fan Movie Challenge. I haven't
Is that,
seen
is
it.
that correct? Did we phrase that right?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I just want to make sure because I was like, I think that's the logo. I don't know.
And we'll dig into that a little more later in the show. But as of this taping, we are 7 weeks and 2 days away from Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker.
Good Lord.
That's 51 days, unless you're thinking interdimensionally. In which case I saw it and it was great, right? So remember when it was 308 days?
I
back
do.
In February?
Yes, and it felt like forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's like a month and a half.
Yeah, and we have lots to talk about.
We do, and we ourselves have been off for a couple of months with some catching up to do because in the last couple of months life happened.
Yeah. So Paul's wife Karen, who is a fantastic performer and just all-around incredible human being, was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and so Paul and Karen have started the fight and are forming what they're calling Karen's Army. And if you would like to be a part of Karen's Army, we would love to have you be a part of that. They're fighting hard, and you can go to GoFundMe.com/SavingTheDay. And it's saving the day because Karen is a huge fan, just like we're huge fans of Star Wars. She is an enormous fan of Ghostbusters, anything Ghostbusters. So, by the way, if anybody out there knows Bill Murray and can just send him over to Karen and Paul's house, I think that would immediately help with the curing and getting her
thank
healthy.
you, and 2, good luck with that.
Yeah.
It's so elusive.
Finding him and securing him.
Yeah, exactly.
But once again, go to GoFundMe.com/SavingTheDay and join Karen's Army. We're pulling for her. She's doing great. She's fighting hard, and Paul and Karen have such great spirits, and they're super positive. So we'd love to have you join the Army.
And that's saving, no G in there, just saving.
Yeah, saving. Just saving the day.
Being casual.
Saving the day. It's from the movie. So there you go.
Thanks.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
I got
An
it.
accurate representation.
yeah.
That's
Thanks,
nice.
thanks.
And some quick housekeeping. Thank you for that, Sean.
Yeah,
by
of
the
course,
way.
absolutely.
Please chime in your thoughts at themovieguys.net. Countdown9@gmail.com or countdown9 on social media, pretty much.
All
at
over the
Countdown
place.
to 9
Yeah.
all over. Before we get to our spotlight film, we do lead with the latest news on episode 9. I mean, just 2 months ago, we were making jokes
I
about
know,
how
we were like-
there's nothing to talk about. I think Galaxy's Edge is putting out a cookbook.
Yep.
But now we have, of course, a lot going on.
Long have I waited, and now you're coming together. Is your undoing.
Yeah, there's a new trailer.
Oh man, it's so good.
A new poster, and of course, theories popping up all over the dumb guy.
Not a
internet.
huge fan of the poster, though. I'm bummed about the poster. That was the one thing that
The
came.
new poster?
Yeah, I was like,
Really?
yeah, no, the first one they came out with the lightning bolts and all of that stuff, and people gave them a lot of crap for because it was kind of more almost animated looking. I thought that was awesome. But then the
With
newest
Emperor's
one
head
is
above them, looking like
no,
Santa Claus?
That's the one I love. There's a new one out. That is like the poster.
That's the one you love with Santa Claus.
No, not with Santa.
I haven't seen the new one.
No. Okay, then you got to look it up because
great.
and maybe it's I don't know, maybe it's a false one, maybe it's not real, but
No, there's a legitimate.
there's a
one that's
legitimate.
out.
I just thought it was okay.
And I'm
going to
spend 20 minutes describing it to our podcast.
Yes,
listening
that's
audience.
right. So if you on the upper edge of the no, I'm joking.
You gotta see this.
Look it up, Google it, you'll check it out, you'll love it.
And much like the first trailer, it's great to hear Ian McDiarmid.
McDiarmid.
And
Right?
his voice is fantastic. But that John Williams is just killing it.
Yeah, he's done a few things.
Exactly.
He's done a couple movies.
he's kind of
John
established
Williams.
himself.
A composer, I think.
Composer.
and
Writes ditties.
A couple of does ditties.
But good Lord, that music is something else. I need to hear it.
I mean,
And now
Forget about it. Williams is the greatest.
so great.
Yep.
And this might be it for him in Star Wars, I believe,
Yeah.
right?
I think that's it.
Future
Yeah.
standalones or trilogies.
Yeah.
I mean,
think
what
he's done.
a legacy, what a thing to be known for, and what a way to go out.
I mean, right?
You know,
Yeah.
it really is. We've been to the Hollywood Bowl to see him play, and
Yep.
it's a religious experience.
I think we
It
all
really
have.
is.
If you
Yeah.
have been in LA and you haven't done that,
Oh, I recommend it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
outstanding.
Yeah.
It's outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've passed 4 years in a row for myself, but I didn't see him this year. But
Gotcha.
I heard that it's the other gentleman that does the music with him, the composer. I can't think of his name.
David
off the-
Newman.
Oh,
David,
David
yes,
Newman.
David Newman. It's more David now, less
Those
John.
Newmans,
He's just-
they've done something.
they've done a couple
Done a
things.
couple things. Written some ditties.
Yeah, some
Randy
ditties,
and the
some
David.
I enjoy that he
things.
does keep it in
Some
the
things.
family. You know, I've been friends for a long time, friend with his father, and so they've been able to carry that on
Great.
and keep it, close. So it's not just handing it over to somebody else.
Right. That's awesome.
But that's a long night for anyone in their mid-80s.
Actually, what was the night you and I went?
Yeah.
Like he did an encore, which was great.
Yeah.
And then of course everybody's still screaming, yeah, John Williams, and then like he literally comes out and it's like,
Yeah,
I just did the move of falling asleep.
Yeah,
for those of you
that's
listening.
probably what I said.
Yeah.
is
He's
his
like,
move.
seriously, guys, I'm done.
Yeah.
Any dumb theories on the episode 9 based on this? I mean, it's kind of just what we expected from the teaser. The Emperor will rise again and threaten everybody, and we got to see who's got the Force, right?
I mean, I
Did
think
sum it
that
up
pretty
well?
much wraps it up. I mean,
I
they're
quoted the poster there.
So one of the cool theories I heard was that in The Last Jedi, when Rey has her Force vision facing dark thing that she has, and she sees all the rays, the snapping moment and all that,
Right.
that actually that is a reference, and ultimately she's actually a clone. And I thought that was an interesting, that's why she
What?
doesn't really have parents. That the idea was that the Emperor, part of his master plan was he was trying to find a way to clone Force sensitive people, and in the midst of doing that, he cloned this person, and she had sort of the light side calling her more, and he's like, let's get rid of her.
I almost want that, because all this talk about who Rey's parents are, who cares?
Right.
Why is that
Right.
even
Well,
been a
that's
thing?
thank you
not
for
the
saying
plot.
that, because that was the whole point in The Last Jedi is who cares? It really doesn't matter unless you're saying it's Luke or Han.
I think they're just trying to explain all her strength, because up till now we have no reason, we have no background,
Yeah.
no backdrop. So it's just like, who's the mama and the papa? Okay, cool, I get that. That makes sense. But
I have to agree. Is it me or does anybody really? And I'm going to say it. Does anybody really care about these new characters that much?
Oh, he's dropped the
Okay,
bomb on
so
the show.
I right out of the gate, I'll jump in and I'll say I absolutely do. I love the new characters. I think they're really interesting, and I think there's a lot going on with them. And I see people's arguments about them and all of that, but it's it's a new thing. I would say the only character I have a sort of a problem with is Poe. I'm still sort of waiting for him to really have a bigger reason to. I mean, he's a great character.
I like Poe.
As a character, he's fun.
I like Poe as a character.
Yeah.
But the others, I just.
Well, Poe is pointless, first of all. You take him out of Force Awakens, movie doesn't change.
Right.
And Finn, it just keeps every movie trying to bail on the Resistance and run
Thank
away,
you.
and he's all in it for himself. So those two guys, but so fortunately,
Well-
the two of the main three we're supposed to care about, and I don't.
Thank you. Yeah, and the reason I like Poe is because Poe reminds me, at least we get a little bit of that's not smuggler, but at least a little bit of that Han Solo back. That's the only thing that really kind of keeps it. He's got that little character mode.
I love that you said Han during our Empire episode.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say,
I
Rusty?
want to
Han
love these
Solo.
characters, but I agree. I don't have a lot of investment in them. Not much has been set up, and so why do you want me to care for these characters? The original trilogy was so character driven that they could do anything, and you'd be like, "Oh wow, that's amazing." The prequels were story driven, and these, I'm not sure.
Well, coming out of we're talking about
I gotta
Empire.
say, I love Rey, and I think Daisy Ridley's one of the greatest actors in all of them. So
I
go
think
ahead,
it
sorry.
can come
It's
around.
not that she's not a great actress. It's just there was nothing that was given to her to be.
There's no purpose.
Thank
no
you.
drive.
There's no. I don't care.
Yeah.
And then when C-3PO in the trailer says, he's like, what's wrong, 3PO? However, it rolls. I've only seen it a couple times, and 3PO is like, oh,
looking
family, or like I'm
at
Never
my
gonna see my
friends.
friends. This is the last time I'm gonna see my friends.
Yeah, friends. Like,
Where are your
who-
friends?
yeah. who-
Han's
how-
dead.
He
Let's see,
had
Luke.
yeah. He
Han,
had,
Luke, and
Okay,
Leia
so
are
I'm
not
gonna
there.
speak to that because
The
we were
first
Rusty
one-
and I were just
yeah.
talking about this a little while ago, and I'm just gonna say real quick. Okay, so in Force Awakens and in Last Jedi, both of those have lines that to me are both within the world of Star Wars, from character to character, and also a line for the fans. There's a lot of that going on in the writing. I think that line is both of those things, and so in this movie, time has passed, and I believe that C-3PO has formed more of a bond with these people. Now, we haven't seen it on screen, and I can see that argument for
Right.
sure, but I think personally that line is much more directed at the fans.
But you're right. Every single movie, The Force Awakens had lines.
Mm-hmm.
The Last Jedi was, let the past die, kill it.
Yeah.
If you
I mean,
have to.
straight up. Yeah.
It was telling the fans exactly, listen to this, and you'll understand where we're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're split on the new movies.
And by split, like 3-1?
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, I do. I mean, Abrams has the goal, or perhaps the order now, to wrap up 40 years of movies, and so I am interested to see what happens there.
Do you
But
think
I think we
he's-
talked about this before. Empire left me. I had to know what happened in Return of the Jedi. Last Jedi doesn't leave me having to know what happens
Right.
in Rise of Skywalker. But also, we talked about. I also have no idea what's going to happen, so that's a plus.
I think that's a huge plus. I mean, all along that I've been saying that again and again, which is what I loved about The Last Jedi.
I think
Total
JJ
surprises.
has the opportunity, and few filmmakers have this, is to actually, in a trilogy, to actually finish what he started. So even though it was going this direction and we went all over, he can bring it home.
Right.
He can. He doesn't have to let the Last
And hopefully
Jedi-
he doesn't take it as mopping up from the last film.
Yeah, I don't think he will.
Hopefully he'll figure
Well, there's
some of the
stuff he
answers
could
out.
drop. I'd be fine.
I don't
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
but I don't think that
yeah.
he will. I mean, so many people have said, "Oh, is he going to retcon all of this stuff from The Last Jedi?" And to me, I don't think there's that much that needs to be changed, because ultimately he was a part of that movie. I mean, he's on there as an executive producer. For the people that keep saying, "Well, I don't think he really knew what was going on," I'm like, he absolutely knew what was going on.
Yeah.
There's no way he did not know.
I sure would love to have seen the other guy's version. The other two that got fired.
Oh, the Lord and Miller. Or
Yeah,
whatever?
was
What are
it?
you talking about? For Solo?
Colin Trevorrow.
No, that's
Was
for
that,
Rise
was
of
that Solo?
Oh, no, I'm
yeah,
thinking
you're
that was
right.
Solo,
that was
but
Solo.
Rise of
Yeah.
Skywalker was supposed
Rise
to
of
be
Skywalker was it the other guy?
Colin Trevorrow.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I would love
You
to
want to see
see
that?
I kind of would like to see his version.
I only bring this
I'm
up
with you on that
because
one.
we are talking Empire tonight. But
at some point.
I have to think that when I was a kid and Empire Strikes Back came out and we were left with that cliffhanger, did people have the feeling that they have after The Last Jedi?
That's exactly what I was saying. Yeah.
I think one of the big
And
mistakes.
Jedi brought it home.
I mean, I agree. I mean, but I do think one of the big mistakes in The Last Jedi, because I don't think it's a perfect film for sure, but one of the big mistakes was the sort of epilogue ending with the boy. I get the intent that the Force has awakened, and there are other people who are using the Force, and they're all over, and that's an interesting concept. I would have been completely satisfied with the ending of seeing the Millennium Falcon going off into hyperspace and us just being left with a what?
Sure.
But that was your only problem with that?
All right. Well, let's get to something.
That's a good one.
All right. Well, let's get on to this month's movie in focus. And that, of course, is The Empire Strikes Back. If you haven't seen this movie,
Why?
What's
Why?
wrong with
Why would you not?
what stunted your childhood?
Come to my house and watch it.
And yes. And why are you listening to this? What?
I like to watch it without pants on. Wait.
And VHS.
And beer nuts.
No pants, beer nuts, VHS.
Yes, VHS. I brought the VHSs today.
But as ever, we're here to catch you up with our patented recap. Sean, take it away.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
After blowing up the Death Star, the rebellion decided to cash in on the upper hand they had by hiding in the snow.
I love this plan. I'm excited to be a part of it. Let's do it.
Now, the Empire is searching for the rebellion, and especially the young rebel responsible for the destruction of their super weapon.
You know, I have one simple request, and that is to have sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their heads.
Different super weapon. The snow planet is called Hoth, and there a love triangle forms.
I really can't stay.
Baby, it's cold outside.
True. But, no, it's between Han, Leia, and Leia's brother Luke.
Ew, they're related, but I guess they don't know that yet.
Well, the writer thought it would be a good idea.
Then Luke gets captured by a snow monster.
Zeus, the Bumble Snow Monster of the North strikes again.
And while escaping, we see Luke advance his force powers when he pulls a lightsaber from the frozen ground. When Luke returns to the Rebel base, the Empire attacks their small band of good guys? Heroes? Much better.
There you go.
These freedom fighters fight to the death.
Yeah, actually, they run away.
Oh, I see. Running away.
Well, they should have fought to the last person standing.
Well, the writer thought it would be a good idea. Even Han, Leia, Chewie, and 3PO escape on the Millennium Falcon.
And there was much rejoicing.
Turns out the Rebel forces were no match for the Imperial AT-ATs. I think we can call them AT-ATs.
It's AT-ATs.
Luke leaves Hoth with R2-D2 in his X-Wing, headed to Dagobah, where the ghost of Alec Guinness has instructed him to find Yoda.
All right, thank you. That's great.
Obi-Wan says that Yoda trained him, and no one talks about Qui-Gon Jinn.
That's true. No one does. Meanwhile, Han and the gang are trying to outrace Imperial Star Destroyers because the hyperdrive system isn't working.
And Luke arrives on Dagobah, where he meets an unlikely teacher.
Things are about to change around here. Recess is over.
It's
Cameron
Yoda.
Diaz. Yeah, it's not Cameron Diaz.
It's Yoda. And Luke trains as a Jedi, learns how to levitate rocks, and faces off against a fake Vader.
No one has been able to get out of you what you did with the map.
No, that'll be in 2 more episodes.
Yeah, different fake
yeah,
Vader.
It's a whole different.
We learn that Vader discovers it is the son of Skywalker who destroyed the Death Star, and he must join the Emperor.
There is a great disturbance in the Force.
I have felt it.
We have a new enemy. The young rebel who destroyed the Death Star. I have no doubt this boy is the offspring of Anakin Skywalker.
Han, Chewie, et al. End up in Cloud City in search of help from Han's old friend, Lando Calrissian.
I don't claim you can have a better time with Colt 45 than without it. But why take
Smooth.
Turns out, Han took chances trusting Lando.
Londo?
Londo.
You know, you almost said Hondo. Which
Hondo
is
turned out to not trust Lando.
But that's the character at Galaxy's Edge on the Smuggler's Run. It's like
Londo. Want to throw some lawn darts?
We
Londo.
needed a new character.
That's
How about
funny.
Hondo. Well, we already have Han and Lando, and we'll go with it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Turns out Han took chances trusting Lando, who betrays him and hands him over to Darth Vader and Boba Fett, a bounty hunter who tracked the Falcon to Cloud City.
Luke has a vision and sees that his friends have been captured, and he goes to save them. So he ditches training and sets off to save them against Yoda's wishes.
Wait, he's completely unprepared to take on the Empire by himself, and he just runs off to do it anyway?
Well, Luke thought it would be a good idea.
Sure enough, Luke falls into a trap waiting for him, and he faces off against Vader.
It is useless to resist.
Gets his hand cut off. And finds out Vader is his father.
Not true. That's impossible.
But Leia saves Luke. R2 fixes the hyperdrive, and they all escape, except for Han Solo, who is frozen. No. In carbonite. He's frozen in carbonite. And until the next movie, the fate of the galaxy hangs in the balance.
Wow. Greatest of all the Star Wars movies.
No kidding.
Yes.
Well, let's take it up right there.
I have to admit, if that's all in the opening crawl, I never read it. I'm always watching the visuals. But I love the interpretation.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks.
We gave you the full 2 hours. And
Yeah.
whatever,
I mean, that's pretty much.
Yeah.
That's
It's
pretty
great.
much it. Yeah. Yeah. It's my favorite of all of them. I just think it's the script is great. I think it's a great motion picture. I mean, when people just ask me what's my favorite film, I say The Empire Strikes Back because I think it's a well-made motion picture. Beautiful story, incredible. I think there's some great performances. Music's awesome, and of course, visual effects. In terms of visual effects, certainly out of the original trilogy, I think it has the greatest special effects of all 3.
I would agree to that.
Yeah. I just think that this was one of those movies that they were in the zone. And you and I were talking about this earlier today. I think George Lucas is an incredible visionary, but I have issues with him as a writer and a director. In this movie, his role was as a producer, and he wrote the story. So he didn't write the screenplay, he wrote the story. And he had Irvin Kershner who was directing. And I really think that Irvin Kershner had such a talent for storytelling and for bringing humanity to a galaxy far, far away. And you can see that in all of the behind the scenes. And there's a couple of different behind the scenes that I watched that I hadn't seen before, oddly enough, thanks to the internet. The Cloud City scene, I had no idea how much they went back and rewrote that dialogue. They went back and redid the scene again because they were not happy with how it was. And ultimately what it kept coming back to, and this is a very cinematic choice in my opinion, is it was less is more. In earlier versions of the script, they're saying so much, they're trying to say so much, and ultimately
later on it's implied, and it's perfect.
It's implied. It's like
perfect.
little pieces of dialogue. There's moments where they're sharing visually and they're connecting, and you don't need more than that. And that really kind of, to me, speaks to a lot of the issues with the prequels and things like that, where it's just like, it's just too much dialogue. There's too much just explaining. Just show me.
I couldn't agree more. It was the perfect opportunity for George Lucas to step aside, have someone else come in. Although Irv, when they talked to him, his agent was like, "Do it," and he was like, "No. How do you follow up Star Wars? Star Wars was huge,
right?
It's tall order."
Yeah, and he was like, "No, I don't want to do it." And he goes, "Do it."
Yeah,
and he did. He went through with it. A lot of the movies, if you ever look up what Irv Kershner has done, there was a lot of emotional people interaction, which is the things that we love of Empire. There was some action in there. It was a James Bond movie, but it was very important motivation, determination, everything in the characters, how they're focused. And then Irv Kershner, there is an interview with him of how he approached each actor, Han, Luke, and Leia, Mark, Harrison, and Carrie, and how he got those individual performances out of them. And you go, wow, one director did that.
You should share that. You should share those specifics, because that was really interesting when you shared what those specifics were.
Right now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I just remember there was something about how he was dealing, with Mark, and yeah.
Irv would say Mark is available and always there on set and just eager to please and do everything. And he says, "Mark, go do this. Okay, go out in the snow. We'll be here in the lobby, and we'll film you.
We'll be warm while you freeze."
In the snowstorm. And he goes, "Harrison, I need you here." And he goes, "Oh, it doesn't make sense. We got to get." Sorry, the Harrison Ford is going to come out there. He goes, "It doesn't make sense." Well, make it make sense. Find that spot right here. And Carrie, again, so eager to please, but they go, no, dig a little deeper because it's there. And he knew that she was capable of it. So he had 3 different ways of developing those performances for that movie. Special effects, huge deal, but he pulled it out of him, and that's what we love. It's so character-driven, and it's great. We need that for a second act.
Yep.
So many trilogies rely on effects and budget, and that's what we see. And we go, yeah, it was good, and walk away.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the matte painting, still getting it done.
Yeah.
It was not dated in 1980.
No.
It's not dated today, really.
No.
I mean, you could tell when it's a green screen. The only thing that's improved really is the green screen technology.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if it's a matte painting or some CGI nonsense. So it still looks good back then.
Yep.
It's even fun watching the Tauntaun. That's claymation, and it was great.
Yeah.
But
it's still fun. It's still
so
fun watching
great.
it. And he's just popping by, but it's like, hey, it's not.
It was still an upgrade from Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah,
it was,
exactly.
they
The
did
original,
very-
yeah.
I mean, how many times did you watch as a kid the behind the scenes and watching them adjust the Tauntaun?
Yeah, one basically leg at a time.
Yeah, I mean,
that's how
and
we
then,
do.
the baking soda for the snow.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you're just like, that's so cool. Now it's like filter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll take Yoda over the CGI Yoda.
I love Empire Yoda.
Absolutely.
Because
Empire and Jedi Yoda is great.
The threat always with a CGI character is it will overact. And that has happened, not as bad as some others, like Jar Jar, But so the Yoda survived a little better in CGI state than, but the puppet one always underplayed. You know?
That's funny you should say that. I didn't even think like that.
Because who cares if it looks good or not? Is it a good actor?
Yeah.
And I think the puppet was a better actor.
Yeah. Frank Oz.
Well, Frank Oz, I mean, I mean, he was brilliant with it. And I think that organic sensibility, I mean, having that really there and connecting with that. And you know, actors now, it's a tough thing, you know? I mean, you see some of this behind the scenes for like Avengers and things like, I mean, these guys are in a huge room with just a big green wall and maybe some set underneath them. Yep. And it's like, Avengers assemble and all right. Yeah.
I mean, think if anything, if any one Star Wars fan could put their finger on what was most disappointing about the prequels is that when you did see behind the scenes, it was so much green screen and CG. Mm-hmm. Empire and the classic trilogy in general was ILM were cinematic magicians. They had dozens of things to convince you their story and that this took place a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Now so much of it is CG. There's still model work. There's stuff here and there, but it was magic. You really did believe it back then.
I think that was what was fun about Rogue One, because they did come back and they built sets again.
Yeah.
And they made it
tangible, visual effects.
Yeah, Star Wars land, and then they really built those characters. I cared about everybody in Rogue One.
Did you?
I really did. Yeah, I had fun with it.
Well, although paid off at the end.
Arguably, I believe the most sets and mini sets were built for Phantom Menace.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they built a ton of stuff. Yep. So,
well, it starts out back then, $18 million budget for Empire Strikes Back.
Wow.
That was $1980.
Yeah.
And a $290 million domestic take, and then 547 worldwide. In 2019 dollars, that's an $886 million haul.
Wow.
Which is probably puts it in top 10 all time, I imagine. Billion. Yeah. There's probably 3 or 4 in the billion club.
Yeah.
And then
it was am I correct? Empire Strikes Back is still the lowest of all of them financially, money made.
I am not sure.
Is that true?
That's what I thought.
Wow.
It's the best film, but it still was the lowest
grossing.
I thought it was Jedi. I didn't know that.
No,
wow.
Jedi beat it because it was the because
ending. It was the ending. Yeah.
The ending of the trilogy.
That could happen with 9.
Wow.
Good. Yeah.
So.
Wow. That floors me.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the first time you saw it. For me, I saw The Empire Strikes Back, and I didn't quite get it. I was 10, and I thought they killed Han Solo. I needed to have it explained to me by my parents. They went, no, they froze him because there's gambling debts or whatever. They probably didn't explain all that. But either way.
Just like Dad. I mean, they just had gambling.
Daddy went away for a while. Yeah. Han Solo's going away for a while, but he'll be back. Unlike
Are they
Daddy.
going to break
Daddy's
his legs
frozen in
too?
carbonite right now.
Daddy didn't come back, but Han Solo will come back. So yeah, I didn't get it. I was all upset, but I eventually figured it out clearly.
I don't remember when or where I actually saw it first. I just remember like watching it so much as a kid, but I can't actually place where. I mean, I must have seen it in the theater, but what I really remember is I had a cousin who, of course, back in those days, you couldn't really get these on video. They weren't, because this was just the time where VHS and Beta were having their battle as to who was going to win.
Beta is better.
And Beta is a better visual picture, but the problem is a Betamax tape was limited to 60 minutes.
Right.
So if you had any film, you would have 2 Beta tapes.
Like an 8-track. You just
Yeah.
right in the good part. Wait a minute.
So I have a
What do you mean you're kissing Leia? What? Hold on a second. Wait a minute.
No, it's true. Absolutely. So that was my experience growing up. So I had a cousin who was in the Navy, and he must have run the films or whatever. So he got me a really beautiful transfer, because, of course, these were for the Navy. This was a beautiful Beta transfer of The Empire Strikes Back. So my entire childhood memory of watching Empire Strikes Back is switching the video right when it's on Dagobah, and it's right at that scene where Luke goes down the hole.
Yep.
And there's like that lizard that crawls by. It was always the point where the tracking would go off because the tape was ending.
Yep.
And I'd be like, I got to change the tape. And so for years, when I finally got to see it on like DVD and whatever, I'd be like, that's weird. What's supposed to be happening
That's
here?
funny.
I just like had this feeling like something was supposed to be
the,
happening.
it's like the mixtapes you had when you were a kid. Like when Pretty Woman by Van Halen is over, I have to hear Leave It by Yes immediately because years, that's what I heard. Pretty Woman.
Muscle memory. It is programmed in there.
I mean, it's just, yeah. So, I get it.
That's funny.
It's really funny.
Except I never had beta. Never went the beta route.
No.
Never even tested the waters on that. I don't think I've ever seen
Was
it.
it Laserdisc? What about that?
Well, I had oddly enough, I still have the Empire Strikes Back Laserdisc, but
you
no
really?
Laserdisc player.
That's exactly what I had.
It's
Empire
gotta
Strikes
come
Back
back.
on Laserdisc, no Laserdisc player. So I was going to say, if I have a player, you could come over and watch your disc
Yeah, no.
on my player.
Although there's a guy right near where I live who I found because I was working on a project and I needed some stuff transferred. And I live in Orange County, which is not a place where you would normally find people who have stuff to transfer. And I came across this guy, whatever. Go over to his house, and in his garage, he has every single thing you could ever want to transfer from and to, including film. I mean, I was like, oh, good find. Good find.
Well, I mean, we do have a vinyl. Vinyl is back, so you know, you never know. We got the old laser back, and
well, a lot of people say Laserdisc.
I mean, we got 8K TV coming up, so you know, 27K. Yeah,
Too
there's
much.
a lot of K there.
We don't need to see Grace and Frankie into 8K.
No.
They're in their 80s.
Is there anyone that wants to?
The show looks
Bring
pretty
them
good. Can we
forward.
add a little Gaussian blur?
They don't want it.
the Golden Girls.
Wipe the mascara, please. Okay, continue.
Oh, Blanche.
By the way, somebody said they should reboot the Golden Girls with the girls from Sex and the City. I mean, how brilliant would that be? Anyway, just saying.
Funny.
I have so many fond memories as a kid watching Empire Strikes Back. First of all, I remember going to the theater 20 times and watching the entire movie. Wow. What theater it was, how long it took me to get there, because I'm looking at 16 minutes from now, I'll be watching Empire Strikes Back. I remember the other movies that were in the theaters across that my mom would try to sneak into, and I'd be like, I'll be at Empire. She's like, okay, I'll come watch Empire with you.
Be at Ordinary People.
Right. 9 to 5, Flash Gordon, Competition.
Maybe Airplane.
Yeah. But I also remember, and this is this tells you a little bit about my childhood. I had a vision problem, and I had to get bifocals, and so I had to see a vision therapist. And so every time, twice a week, I would go see him, and I was convincing myself I was studying to be a Jedi, because the things I would do, I would jump on a trampoline and read things off a board. And I'm studying to be a Jedi Knight.
The doctors were like, he is so focused. I've never seen a kid be this focused.
I'm balancing on one hand, I'm raising things,
I'm intrigued about
Raising
that.
yourself.
I've never heard of that. Like, just it's the almost you get Empire Strikes, but you had somebody that really taught you different ways to see. I mean,
bouncing
I didn't know
on
that
a
was a thing.
trampoline and reading things off a blackboard. That was one of them. And getting my eyes to focus.
That's how he has to do cue cards now. That's what I do. He doesn't book a lot of commercials. I'll be right with you.
But it was something that
trampoline
they said, we don't think you're going to need bifocals. First of all, you're a kid. Why do you have bifocals now? We think we can correct that.
Wow.
And,
Wow, that's awesome.
And they were able to.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So, by becoming a Jedi Knight, your vision can get better.
That's amazing.
Wayne, do you remember seeing
That's
it?
amazing. I've never seen it.
No, do you remember seeing
No,
it?
I'm just kidding.
Douche.
Yeah, like you. I saw it probably, I don't know, dozen, maybe 2 dozen times in the theater.
I saw Return of the Jedi 6, and I was like, that's the most I've ever seen. I mean, 20 times, that's awesome.
Yeah. It was,
That's all you had back then.
But
So
that was it.
And they ran the movies for so long.
You did. It was in the theater forever. You had I remember much of it, but I remember like that was my allowance, and it was like, what are you gonna do with it? going to see Empire Strikes Back again. I just would see it over and over, and it was just the summer of the Empire. You know what
Is
I mean?
it not
was,
Friday, Mother?
Yeah.
I will be at the cinema.
But you got to understand, back then, too, it was like the movies came out in May. It was like May 25th was always the Star Wars movie every 3 years, you know? And now it's like a Christmas thing. It's just not, that's not the same either. That's a little different for me.
That's disappointing to me,
But
too.
you get this, you get the summer.
Yeah, I don't know why they. I mean, I guess I get why they did that, but
Disney,
yeah.
There's money, Disney, but I mean, like summer blockbuster, and then blockbusters were, you know, what do you say, 290 million tops for the gross of that summer
Back then,
something like
yeah, it was 250, 290, yeah.
Yeah, 290. So I mean, that's that's. I don't
Ticket
remember
prices
ticket price like
were-
a couple dollars.
Right.
It's not
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Under
much.
$2, I want to think.
Yeah.
And so so I remember the first time I think it was, gosh, it kind of reminded me, now I think about it, was kind of because I wanted to see it so bad. The first time I saw the new trilogy, The Phantom Menace, and I had the goosebumps, and as soon as the 20th Century Fox came up, and and
I do miss that now.
You know what?
Yeah.
We could get it back if they play their cards right. Disney bought Fox.
That's true.
Oh.
It's one of the greatest things.
Is
you
that
can do
why
for
they
our
got
fans
rid of that?
Is
Well, the fanfare, but
yeah, Lucasfilm took the whole. When it went to Disney. they
fair
basically
enough.
lost the
I understand that, but the crawl for other movies aside from, all the Star Wars movies, we no longer have the crawl.
Well,
that's only for the Star Wars stories.
for the night episodes.
All the episodes, and if they.
Starting Rogue One, for 10 minutes, I couldn't get into it. I was waiting for the.
I am
more
not
of the crawl.
entered into this movie correctly.
There's a
It's-
fan-made crawl
Right.
that was done that I don't know if you've seen it, but whoever did it did a great job, and he wrote a really lovely piece, and it sets up the movie perfectly, and you're like, yep, that was it. That's what it should have been.
Lucas, again, being the visionary, borrowed that from serials, Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon.
And he made it such a staple that we needed. Any parodies that do Star Wars includes the crawl. It's the narrator that opens up. Here's the beginning. Here's what you missed. Here's where these characters were before that.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting you brought up even though I'm a fan of The Last Jedi, and I always bring that up, but you did bring this up, and I was like, oh yeah, he's right about that. The crawl for The Last Jedi, which by the way is the only crawl that made me go, huh?
It really did, didn't it?
I remember watching the movie and going, go back, because I don't go back.
Somebody shoot some words out of the sky. That didn't
But
make
you
sense.
said something that blew me away, because I was like, that movie's supposed to basically pick up from where Force Awakens leaves off
Immediately.
So why do we need a setup?
We
crawl?
don't need a crawl.
Because basically because normally the crawl was saying this is kind of what's been happening, guys.
Well, when Star Wars happened, it was actually stuff happened between that. It was 3 years between, and then between Empire Strikes Back and
That's 7 months, I think.
Return is like 7 months or something like that. Yeah, so you they had to adjust and say, okay, this is what they've been doing, trying to figure out where Han is and blah blah blah. For Empire to Return or whatever. Right. So there actually was time that actually did in real time actually happen between it, because every movie was 3 years, 77, 80, 83.
Right.
So that made sense.
Yeah.
This other one, I understand. I see what you're saying. Last Jedi, you they just could have said anything on there.
And there's a leak online of the crawl for Rise of Skywalker, also fan made, because it's the lyrics of "Never Gonna Give You Up" by Rick Astley. I thought it was pretty quality. People watch,
please
what
use
the?
it.
And then it goes
Lucasfilm,
back.
please use it.
Kudos to whoever did that.
Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down. There's all the ground and desert you.
Who's got a favorite? Well, everyone's got one. What is your favorite moment from the movie? I'll tell you mine if you want to think about it, because it comes right to me. It's Vader dispatching of his admirals. Throughout the movie, every time you see him, he's getting rid of a guy who displeased him.
Yeah.
That was my dad's favorite.
I love that.
That was my dad's.
And, but the best one he didn't dispatch. It's the shot of the asteroid flying into a Star Destroyer and exploding, and you cut to Vader looking at 2 holograms of his admirals,
Oh,
and one
yes.
of them just disappears because he got hit by the asteroid. He's like, ah! And it kind of goes away.
Yeah.
I just laugh at that. That's the funniest thing in the whole trilogy. He's like, they're checking in, and the guy just, you see him
That's funny.
screaming a
I
tear
missed that.
disappear. Oh, it's so funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and then everyone who pisses him off, Vader just does him in. Next.
Yeah.
Who's the next
Well, that's
admiral?
actually why I like that. I mean, again, with good writing and there's good subplots, good characters that are even smaller characters. Who's the admiral that does live that he doesn't kill?
Admiral Piet?
Yeah, Piet.
Piet.
Yeah, I mean, there's a thing going on there, and he's trying to keep his stuff together, and there's subtext, and I mean, there's just so many little interesting things that I love about that. Yeah. For me, I mean, I love that lightsaber battle from the time this moment right here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from the time they face off and they pull out those lightsabers, there's just so much passion with that whole sequence. I mean, and cinematically it's beautiful, and there's interesting shots that are I mean, there's one from way up above, and they're looking down, and that was back then that was hard. They had to build stuff. It wasn't just what I mean. It's this is amazing. So that's that. I mean, there's so many.
They weren't sending up a drone with a GoPro. Yeah, they
Yeah.
had a gigantic Panavision.
Oh yeah, my GoPro shoots in 8K, so we're good.
You would say that.
I
would say that.
That's how I sound when I sell things to clients.
Well, we can shoot in 8K. Okay, don't worry.
I think for me the it sounds crazy, but anything of course with Harrison Ford, playing Han Solo, that was the ultimate. But just at the beginning when he's on the he's on the Millennium Falcon and they're fixing stuff. He's getting ready to, he's like, no, and he's like, stop, don't, just wait,
This one goes there, that one goes there, right?
That's just those moments that he had, all, and the whole Harrison Ford pointing his, the whole, anything that he did, because to me that he's created Han Solo being Han Solo, because it wasn't just like, he shot first. It was Han Solo was a human being in it, and he was the smuggler, but he was a badass, and it was but he was human, and he was just, I don't know, his subtlety and the way he presented himself. I think that Han Solo moments.
Well, I mean,
one particular, but
you speak to another great point, which is the humanistic side. Everybody's flawed. I mean, that's what we connect with. Is I can relate to that, and I want to work on that myself or whatever. You know what I mean? But that's the beauty.
Yeah, the nerf herder scene.
Yeah.
It's like nerf herder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just everything about it was just so many moments with Han Solo.
That moment right there, you're right. No, it's he's arguing with a creature, his best buddy, of course, a Wookiee. But he's also fighting with the Treadwell, which is something in a deleted scene that A New Hope, Luke would fight with too. That same, droid that was on Tatooine, and they bring back the Treadwell. The Rebel Alliance has a Treadwell, and it's right there on the wing, arguing with him, and bringing back.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I remember anything that Yoda did was hilarious, but he did this a lot. To pretty much anything.
Gotta watch the seagulls.
But the scene,
You gotta see the smash cut of all those.
Seagulls.
That's so great.
the scene right after the confrontation, which is right when Luke loses his hand.
Yeah.
There's so much going on
Yeah.
visually. It's stunning. This amazing sword fight. Bob Anderson choreographed and was in the middle of it as Darth Vader, and then David Prowse steps in and gives all this strong, just
Acting.
amazing presence. Yeah,
Didn't
acting
have
through
the
a
voice, but
costume.
he's acting,
It's not easy, and then not even knowing the final dialogue, having that dropped in later, but having it match and everything work and come together, and you have a guy in a costume. And you have someone, waving a stick, and it's amazing. We're totally enthralled.
Yeah.
And we don't know a lot about other than this prior movie, but we're so invested to this point that this guy that did all these bad things is now related to this guy that we've been cheering for the entire time.
Right.
So we share that. Oh, No, it's impossible.
It was great. They made the Force, I think you mentioned earlier about explaining everything in dialogue, and they did that in the first three. But they just, in Empire Strikes Back, the Force was established in Star Wars, but it was the Force. It was there when you understood it enough.
Didn't have to explain
have
it.
to go
Yeah.
any further with it.
Yep.
And it was there to so powerful, and you didn't have to say anything. I agree with you about that, the dialogue. But yeah, the moments.
I think we were all raised believing that a Jedi Knight or achieving the Force could be learned because we watched Luke do it.
Right.
In the prequels, we've learned that you're the chosen one, and this guy does it now. We have Broom Boy, and Broom Boy just picked up a broom, and now he can do it. So they're bringing it back.
It was right before his song started.
It's So now they're bringing it back to more people can have control of the Force.
Broom Boy. I mean, have they not seen Star Wars Kid?
Yeah, I have seen Star Wars Kid.
What is that?
Star Wars Kid. The kid in his garage swinging around a broom
Picks
handle.
up a lightsaber.
So at the end of Jedi,
he's a devoted Jedi.
Yeah.
So at the end of Last Jedi, he picks up a broom. I'm like, a broom handle? Really? All right, well, swing it around. Let's go viral with your wacky.
You and your wacky self. You and your wacky self. I will say about the newer sequels. Some people have complained about all the new Force stuff we're seeing, but when you go back and you look at Empire, the moment he pulls the lightsaber out of the ground, we have never seen anything.
I'm with you.
At all like that in the original Star Wars movie. That's a whole new moment and a whole new thing. And the truth is, because a lot of people are like, well, how does Rey know how to do this and how does Rey know how to do that? Well, we don't really see how Luke knows how to pull the lightsaber out of the snow.
Right.
But we accept that as part of the story and as part of the truth of the given circumstances of the story that's being told. So I don't know. I feel like people are hard on these newer movies and sometimes that's not justified.
I feel like most of those things, in my mind, I feel they are justified because the story elevated as the fan base got more sophisticated. Sophisticated. And so now we expect so much.
Yeah.
So God bless anyone that steps out there and, is ready to, I can do a Star Wars movie. Really?
Well, now Benioff
you.
and Weiss from Game of Thrones just said, well, maybe not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe they were told, well, maybe not you. Well, either way, they're out.
That's a shame. I hate hearing that.
Especially because it was going to be the Old Republic,
Yeah.
I think.
Do we know
Well,
that?
we don't know.
That was the rumor, but I mean, come on. I mean, who's better to do that than them? I mean,
would see that being
seriously
very beautifully done.
I did want to talk about the special editions real quick because we kept talking about the sword fight scene. Everyone seems to love that. But that has the most egregious change in all three Star Wars movies. We may have talked about it last time when Mike Nichols was here because Mike and I always talk
I know
about
what you're talking about.
Yeah, so Luke loses his hand. He finds out that he's Darth's son. He says, that's not true, that's impossible. And then he realizes the way I can win is to just kill myself. I will never give in. So he steps off the plank, falls down into the thing. But Lucas added,
as if it was a slip and an accident.
Yeah, and he had killed the intention. That's the worst change in all the special
But
editions.
I think that's out. And the most
He
recent
did.
one.
He went back to it again. I'm sorry. No, he changed it back to the
Got
original
it.
again because of people. He can't leave it alone. Just leave it alone.
I mean,
it was a choice. It was not an accident. Luke didn't slip.
Correct.
He jumped.
One of the articles I read online in preparation for this said something about, well, these are George's to tinker with. And on the one hand, I agree. They were his movies to tinker with, and I understand that. I respect that. On the other hand, there's an old filmmaking saying, which is movies are never finished, they're abandoned. And I think there's really...
Or they escape.
Well, or they escape. But I think there's
time.
value in that, that there comes a point where it's like, I have to let this go. I worked on a film years ago with a director who was very perfectionistic and had certain opinions about certain things. We would do so many takes on things, and a lot of times I feel like there comes a point where it's like you're not getting any returns on that. 5 takes ago you were fine, and I think you have to kind of just let it go. And sometimes I think in the letting go is where the brilliance happens. I mean, when we're talking about ILM. The first Star Wars movie, there's so much they had to discover. And Let it go. In the first Star Wars movie, there was so much ILM had to discover. But I think part of why the special effects in this are so great is because by this time they had kind of perfected some stuff.
Yep.
And I think that speaks to their talents, you know. But anyway, back to what I was saying. What do you think? I mean, do you think it's his to tinker with forever? I mean, do you keep tinkering with it?
If Lucas has, I think he's a brilliant storyteller. If he has any flaws, it's because he is such a perfectionist. I think you should let it go.
This is going to underscore.
Just
you
keep
now
your
if
finger
you've
on
asked for
it. Just keep your finger on it. Because when you bring a cast of any production of any size together, you have people that we need this character to do this, but he's really good at doing this. Well, let's find it somewhere in the middle.
Right.
That compromise is a great thing for the story, for morale, for everything. You're fighting an uphill battle, and then you get into, did Han shoot first? Did Greedo shoot first? And, you know, it was like we all knew what we saw back then. And then it was his change versus, you know, the editors changing things and putting things together at the last second. I think you let it go. That is an absolute description of that time and place in that story of what he's trying to tell.
I can understand. I agree with you. But I can understand tinkering with the first one because it was such a tough movie to make, and you didn't have the money. And
That's a good point.
I get that. Okay, I can improve the visual effects of this one because you got to think the movie came out in 77, but it started shooting in 75, 76. So
right.
it's a long time.
Right.
You know, with the special effects, we're just getting out of the Harryhausen and all that stuff, right? So you go to 80, and all of a sudden everything's jumped. You know, ILM has become this company, and you've jumped everything so much that, visually everything's better. So you didn't really have to touch the other two. Special edition should have been deleted scenes or maybe an added thing here and there or something, not necessarily the visual part. I don't know. Thoughts?
Well, I think the biggest problem with all the special edition stuff is, to me, it goes back to story. Are you improving the story?
Exactly.
Does a visual effect adjustment change your response to the story? And if it doesn't, you don't need it.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, when goofy robots are doing wacky shtick at the Mos Eisley, it's just unnecessary because what I think the reason everybody loves Empire Strikes Back is it has real stakes. Yet we have fun. You can have fun and have stakes at the same time. A lot of times the goofiness or the overdoing of any part of a movie will deflate the stakes, and then you can't enjoy the movie as much because you don't care as much.
Right. In the early 90s, Lucas actually said a special effect is a special effect. The story is the story. A special effect without a story is a pretty boring thing. And then he kind of broke his own rules.
Isn't that interesting?
Because he got so involved in, we can do this, we will do this. And
yeah.
Well, we're running short on time, and it's definitely something I wanted to discuss, which was the toys. Because Wayne brought some fun stuff. So if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll get to see some of these toys. I don't know. These, I assume, are your favorites, as well as ones you have on you?
I just brought the one. And it's
just the one?
Well, I didn't iron my clothes.
Gosh.
I don't think I've ever seen this in my life. It's a slave one.
Wait, you've never seen one?
No.
Really?
Oh, my gosh. One of my favorite toys.
I did not own a slave one.
What? Oh,
but
my goodness.
I will by the end of today.
It's pretty cool. It's missing the ramp. It's in my house somewhere, but the side comes off here, and then you got you were talking about a little Han Solo.
Did you paint it?
I'm sad again.
No, there's just decals and stickers. That
I must not have put the decals on.
Yeah,
that's too soon. Put that away.
So you get. and
he's not dead, Paul. He's frozen.
And you put Boba Fett in there, and you slide him up, and bam, he's jiving.
I have Boba Fett right behind me.
So
we could do that.
Yeah, you get Boba Fett, but yeah.
So ILM said that they based this off of a street light outside of ILM.
Oh. That's funny.
And so now that's what I see.
Brilliant.
But in the movie, it is Slave One.
Like IG-88.
Yeah.
Dude,
I
I mean,
like
how
that.
lame
I
was
would
that
like that.
toy back in the day, you're like, what is the skinny robot? Like, so stupid.
he's
Like,
gonna-
whatever.
But he
and
was
then,
a bounty
and
hunter.
then you're like, you see this moment in The Mandalorian, you're like, holy crap, I wish I would have known it was that cool. I would have played with that toy.
Yeah, and his head was in the Star Wars, like in the cantina.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
No,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Cappuccino machine.
IG-88's the machine. Yeah,
The original Starbucks was in Star Wars.
For real, he was a drink machine?
he was in. Yeah, when you watch watch Star Wars again,
He's in there having a drink.
the cantina scene. No, he's part of the construction.
That's hilarious. Because he
He's
always looked
actually
like
part of
The
it.
real component is a Rolls-Royce turbo engine for something, a helicopter or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But they have them at their leisure out there. They're like $700. I did find one for a good
hilarious.
price. But they are everywhere. That's IG-88. That is, the heads. So was he made from, a drink machine or?
I don't know, but it's also at the Disney Galaxy in the
right.
cantina. You can actually
Brilliant.
see it. Yeah, it's up there.
What a different story it would have been if, like, Bosk captured Han
Right.
Solo. Because they had
That'd be great.
figures and everything. They didn't do anything.
Yeah.
They sat there and had a
Well, to
silent-
our knowledge,
I mean, they
nothing
had a
happened
meeting.
to them in
They
Empire or
definitely-
Jedi. We know what happened. We think to
Right.
Boba Fett, but everyone else, they just all.
I'm so excited you brought this.
Yeah.
It's one of my
It's
favorites. One of my
amazing.
favorites. What was your favorite toy?
The Millennium Falcon.
I do still have that.
Great.
Yep, got that.
I have a Millennium Falcon story. I loved the Millennium Falcon so much, but the little ramp, not great, and mine broke, and I was so bummed because like if the ramp broke, couldn't really connect it, and like you're flying around the house, stuff falling out.
Yeah.
You need the ramp to like close. I begged my parents, can I please get another Millennium Falcon? It's like the Millennium, it's like expensive, right?
Yeah.
To my parents' credit, God bless them, I got another one.
Oh,
And I think it was the day I bought it.
that ramp broke again.
Ramp broke again.
Well, to follow up, my ramp broke too.
Yep.
But I used to feed myself popcorn with it and drop popcorn. I was an only child, so I used to entertain myself a lot.
I think I lost the little radar on top of the roof that snapped off and
Yeah.
didn't go back on again.
Oh, the
I still
satellite
have
dish,
it. But
yeah.
it
Didn't
just-
replace it with a square one.
No, they haven't.
Rectangular? No. Triangle?
Triangle.
Okay, so Millennium Falcon. I really like the snow speeder. Loved the snow
Snowspeeder's great.
speeder.
Yep.
And there was an like an orange, one of the X-wing pilots, who I think was supposed to be Luke, or maybe it was just an X-wing pilot. I'm
Right.
not quite sure.
Yeah.
He had dark hair. Didn't really look anything like
Yeah.
Luke, but I think they might have.
From Star Wars or from Empire?
I don't know.
Empire.
I think it was Empire, but I don't know why I loved that toy.
The back of the snowspeeder had that little. It had the string
Oh,
for the harpoon,
yes.
and then you pushed it into the back of it. How many? And the string wasn't long enough to actually
No.
go around the AT-AT.
Yeah.
You tried.
We
I tried.
Oh,
Oh, you
absolutely.
tried, but you just couldn't do it.
Did anyone send away their proofs of purchase for action figures?
Oh, I got Emperor that way, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tried
I got
to.
Anakin Skywalker that way.
Oh.
I found a neighbor that said he got a Boba Fett that would shoot a torpedo, but we never actually saw it.
I want to say that I sent off for that, and I want to say that I had that, and I want to say that I think my mom took it away because it was too dangerous.
I have a friend that swears that they never released the one that fires.
The fire. No, it did. It was released. It was out there.
Well, because
believe
Boba
you.
Fett was
I believe you.
originally in, where was he introduced?
the
Star Wars
Christmas,
store.
the Star Wars holiday special.
Yeah, an animated piece in that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the first time we ever saw Boba Fett.
Such a great film.
Yep.
Such a great special.
Speaking of which, Life Day is coming up November 17th.
What is that?
Life Day.
Life Day.
We celebrate this day of peace or something.
This day of harmony.
That's what they're celebrating.
Can't wait to
That's
the
right. It's
sequel of
Life
that
Day.
one.
Just life?
Yes, we have to get Han Solo has to get his friend Chewbacca to Kashyyyk to celebrate Life Day with his friends.
Oh,
His
That was the
family.
story.
oh.
Yeah.
That was it.
Itchy, Nala.
Don't remember that.
And they were all in it. They were all in it. All the
Well, that's right.
actors
When
were in it.
Chewbacca like was married or something, or had parents.
He
You
had a
have not
wife.
seen this?
So long ago,
Yeah.
in a galaxy far, far away.
I don't think it's going to be on Disney Plus.
No.
You can borrow my
It'd be
copy.
great
All
if
right.
they did that.
Yes,
I will.
Don't lose it.
All right.
That's all I have.
All right, well, that does it. 7 movies down. No, 7 movies down? Yeah, 3 to go.
Yeah.
Here on the Countdown to 9 podcast. Please come back, as we're now going to post a new episode every couple of weeks to make up for our lost time. And we, of course, still want to post the last show about 5 days before episode 9 opens. Do you have tickets yet? You have tickets?
No.
I do have tickets.
I do.
I have tickets. You don't have tickets?
Nope.
El Capitan.
No, I mean, I live in Orange County in this, like, small area. It's not
6 p.m. in Sherman Oaks, I believe, on the ArcLight.
19th, 10:45 p.m. It's close to
I want to see, like, I like early, like, I would love, like, an 11 a.m.
We still glutton for punishment.
You'll
We
get
still
that-
have to go see it, and I can't
This
not
is
do
the
it.
first year I
Have
will
to do
not
it.
be able to see it the night before or the day it comes out.
Oh.
So,
wow.
Because I am doing a show called Santasia.
Oh,
Nice.
Fantasia.
Good
Yeah, yeah.
segue.
At the Whitefire Theater.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So head out to the Whitefire Theater
That's
during
right.
Christmas time to see
Santasia.
I saw that. It
Fantasia.
had to be about 10 years ago. I saw that. Dave
It's
Natty
the
was doing it, I
20th
think.
year, and it's
Wow.
absolutely amazing to be a part of. It's a great cast, and you'll totally enjoy it.
Wow.
Awesome.
And what are you doing now when people go to Universal?
I am Doc Brown.
That's it. So you're not doing. You used to be on like 3 or 4 rosters.
I am also Optimus Prime
Oh, there you go.
and Bumblebee and Shaggy.
No way.
Like, no way, man.
That's like the greatest thing I've ever heard.
So I knew that because they do take their talent and just filter them around to a bunch of different rosters.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
And I always knew you were kind of embedded up there, so that's cool. Well, I'm Paul Preston.
I'm Sean Blodgett.
Thanks to Wayne Frazier and Rusty Locke. Plugs? Where do we find you otherwise outside of...
Also, plug, where can we see the Star Wars fan film?
You can find it on YouTube. I believe it still has a website.
And the name?
Contract of Evil.
Contract of Evil.
I should have seen it by now, so I will, definitely.
Yeah.
Lots of fun.
And it looked from the poster like it's all a bunch
The
of aliens,
origin
so-
story of Darth Maul.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Prequel to the prequel.
Yeah.
Love it.
And Wayne, 2020, the return of
2020.
Hollywood Close-Up.
Hopefully, yeah, everything works out correctly. Hollywood Close-Up is coming back, and you can find stuff. Check out all the old episodes. NatalieandWayne.com. Over 200 episodes. Yeah.
Tony Basil, Deborah Wilson, all sorts of cool
All sorts of
subjects
fun
on
people,
there.
yeah.
And between episodes, don't forget to follow us at facebook.com/countdown-to-9, at countdown-to-9 on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get the show at YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and of course, themovieguys.net. Join us in a few weeks for an episode devoted to Return of the Jedi when things got goofy. Till then, Sean, I love you.
I know.